The interest of governments in tackling myriad of problems in the Niger Delta that include oil pollution in the soil and waters, poor infrastructure and human capacity development led to the establishment of the Niger Delta Development Commission, Niger Delta Development Board in 1961. Over time, there were other evolving strategies, the Niger Delta Basin Development Authority in 1976 and the Oil Producing Areas Development Commission, OMPADEC, which came into existence in 1992. Yet, with reported gaps in meeting the yearnings of the peoples of the region. It is in the light of developing the oil-rich region that President Olusegun Obasanjo established the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, in the year 2000 to replace OMPADEC. Again, there were gaps with the Niger Delta Development Commission in providing desired results. Our stories on the Commission are mostly centered around corruption and sharp practices. Non-compliance with due process in execution of projects, abandoned or neglected projects that impact negatively on the development of the people and the area. It is widely held that the NDDC has become the milking center where overnight billionaires are made, either through direct looting of its resources by privileged hands or by paying humongous sums of money for contracts that were never intended for execution. The development President Muhammadu Buhari said must stop and has applied the sledgehammer with the directive for a forensic audit of the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, from the year 2001 to 2019. Action applauded by developmentalists who are yearning for positive results that will translate to overall growth and development of the Niger Delta region of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Tonight on Tuesday Live, we shall beam the searchlight on the impact of the Niger Delta Development Commission on the people and the region. But first, after this background report by Joshua Ojito.
In 2000, the federal government established Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, to facilitate and fast-track development in the oil-rich region of the country. 19 years down the line, the commission's relevant bodies say is yet to achieve the desired objective for its establishment in spite of huge budget the commission enjoys yearly. The narratives are that of abandoned projects, undue process in execution of projects, and other sharp practices and corruption issues. An audit report on NDDC shows that the commission could not account for more than 180 billion naira between 2008 and 2012. More worrisome is the degrading condition of the area. In Akwa Ibom State, out of 1,063 projects initiated and embarked upon by the Commission, only 455 have been completed, with concern on quality of projects.
We have several of NDDC projects within the village. It is a pity that I've always been running away and leaving this project unfinished.
We need to make a policy for NDDC to function proper.
The situation is not different in Rivers State, as abandoned projects of NDDC are littered around the state.
If you go to our Woji housing estate now, for a long time they just stopped the contract there after filling some letter and left.
From trailer park into a Jama community. That's an abandoned project carried out by NDDC. It's abandoned and it has added more suffering to the people.
In Edo State, 780 projects have been initiated by the Commission for the state since its establishment at the cost of 86.34 billion naira, with most of the projects abandoned. Although the state government signed Memorandum of Understanding with the Commission to fast-track completion of the projects, the Commission is yet to fulfill its part of the bargain.
The problem is that agency is just grossly mismanaged.
A lot of many quarters have been complaining that their job is not up to standard as it used to be before.
If there is reasonable proof that the contractor took money under the auspices of NDDC and did not perform, it should be taken to court, charged and punished to serve a deterrent to other contractors.
There is cheering news from Cross River State as residents of the benefiting communities in the state laud the interventions of NDDC and appeal for more projects.
The refectory we had was very, very bad. The roof was nothing to write home about. So when they saw it, they decided to work on it. At least we have a comfortable and hygienic place we can sit and eat.
As we go to commission projects and to visit ongoing projects, Nigerians, and especially people from Nigeria Delta, will see what the funds from the NDDC is being used.
However, in Bayelsa State, the impact of NDDC is not much felt, as most of the projects initiated by the Commission are either stalled or terminated, with 4 already taken over by the state government.
Let them re-award the contract to some other company and let them come and do it.
We are very happy when this project came, but at a certain time we see that the project is no more functioning.
The people of Ondo State, which is also an oil-producing state, are calling for forensic audit of the Commission to ensure transparency and accountability in project execution in view of abandoned projects initiated by the Commission in the state.
From revelations that we are now getting, we have seen that even the current president has asked for a forensic audit of the account of the NDDC. It then means that there are some things that should have been done and that were not done. And maybe the litany of abandoned projects speak to this inadequacies.
While some of the abandoned projects are being threatened by erosion in Delta State, the people of Imo State are worried over huge resources spent on NDDC projects with little to show on ground. It is against this background that President Muhammadu Buhari, after meeting with governors of the region, directed for forensic audit of NDDC, the development highly applauded by people, especially in the region. How well do Nigerians understand that it is no longer business as usual? What is the take on calls on bringing to book perpetrators no matter their positions? These and more for guests on NTA Tuesday Live to answer. Joshua Ojito, NTA News.
Established in the year 2000 by the administration of President Olusegun Obasanjo, and to date, NDDC, how accountable? Well, the program once again is Tuesday Live, and Tuesday Live is an audience participatory program where at some point calls will be entertained, and we'll go to the social media. Our Twitter handle is @Tuesdaylive NTA. As much as we can within the program, the time allowed for the program, we'll take twists and phone calls. As much as we can within the time allowed by the program, we'll take the phone calls and also the tweets, and our capable guests across Abuja and other network centers will address the concerns. Well, I have at the Abuja end, from my immediate left, Senator Ita Enang. Senator Ita Enang is the senior special assistant to the president on Nigerian Delta Affairs. He's the immediate former senior special assistant to the president on National Assembly matters and a former long-serving senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Good to have you on Tuesday Live tonight.
Thank you very much, and thanks for inviting me.
Ni Akinsiju is an investment analyst and public affairs analyst, as well as chairman, Buhari Media Organization. Good to have you on the program.
My pleasure as always. Thanks so much.
Okay. Reverend David Ugolo, Executive Director, African Network for Environment and Economic Justice. Thanks for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much.
And from our Port Harcourt Network Center, we have Ledum Mite. Ledum Mite is a legal practitioner, activist, and a former president of the Movement for the Survival of Ogoni People, MOSOP. He's joining us tonight from our Port Harcourt Network Center. Hello, Mite. Good to have you on the program.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and moving on from Port Harcourt, we go to the Benin Network Center, where we have Dr. Chris Ekio. Dr. Chris Ekio is President Emeritus, a Joy Youth Council and convener, Integration Summit Group. in Nigeria. Doctor, good to have you join us on Tuesday Live tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, let me stay on you. Our focus tonight is the NDDC, how accountable. What's your take so far? So good.
Well, thank you very much. Everybody across the country is a little bit excited with the forensic audit. The name is quite interesting because I think people will want to really know what's happening with the NDDC as an agency. Considering the fact that I remember that event where Oronto Douglas was arguing the microphone from President Obasanjo on his visit to Port Harcourt, and the members of the Joint Council were chanting and demanding for something new for the Niger Delta. Looking back, I think this is needed. My only concern as an activist has always been that this forensic audit needs to be a forensic audit with a view to fixing the issues so that we can move forward and have value for what the agency is meant to do. Not another audit where the auditors themselves become another conduit pipe to settle themselves in the process.
Okay, let's move to Port Harcourt now. Mite, if I can get your opinion, what's your impression given the backgrounder report put together by Joshua Jito? What's your appraisal so far of the Niger Delta Development Commission 2000 to date?
Well, I think that I want to start by saying that I am not one of those who is excited by the report of the forensic audit of the NDDC. NDDC, the question of forensic audit. The little house I know is what they call it's what the Hausas call Dogoturunchi long English. Let me say that the NDDC itself, people who expect the NDDC to do more than what it's doing are apparently mistaken. NDDC, insofar as I'm concerned, if you read Section 7 of its enabling act, it makes it an agency of the presidency. From beginning, the NDDC has been for the purposes of a patronage of the presidency, those that the presidency wants to, if you like, use the common language to empower. So that is what the NDDC has always been. So if you are looking at the NDDC as something that is supposed to deliver on the development, that is not what the law is supposed to do. It's like you see a toy vehicle. Then you say this vehicle is not carrying people, it's not moving on the road. When the people who did it wanted it to just be a toy. So clearly it has operated fantastically well as a patronage machine for the presidency and exists as such. I do not see any presidents who have that courage, if they clearly want to do a forensic audit in the real meaning of it. Because whether it's today or tomorrow, you just need to read the papers within the week where the people who are there are saying, look, this is what is happening. I've seen projects that are doing this. I've seen someone having 300 projects to themselves. The program that preceded this conversation also told you things that are not there. I also had a time, served once as the chairman of IT, and we did an audit and published it, which tracked down how revenues were, including NDDC. We found where there are about, even for one particular project, 3 contractors. Money has been paid. Some of the contractors don't know where this thing is. What you see right now is that clearly all these activities of the recent weeks, we must look at it. Why is NDDC now become topical? I think there are elections, and perhaps this is what the NDDC's role has always been, getting money to fund the elections as it's doing. And clearly, we should not pretend that there is any other thing that is going to happen. All this is either some ploy to maybe track down some political opponents who have stand there. Otherwise, otherwise you don't need an audit to say this thing is not working.
Still on you, Peter. Given the humongous sums released so far, 2000 to 2019, by your estimation, you're educated, you're liberated. Would you say what you see in the Niger Delta region, is it commensurate with the amount so far released in terms of projects and other intervention programs?
I do not think that there's any doubt about the fact that the projects on the ground do not match the figures that have been released. And let me say again, when NDDC started, I remember once one top official of the NDDC had told me when I went to engage them, he said, listen, I was brought here not just to develop the Niger Delta, but to empower the supporters of the president in the Niger Delta. And so clearly that's what they are doing. It was not expected to do what they've done. You don't need to be EFCC to track down the money that have been voted for these projects into all the elections that have been conducted all over the years. So what I'm saying is that, was it supposed to do anything other than what it is doing? I do not think so. There's no relationship between the projects on the ground and how much that have been sent. Why are the Julius Bergers of this world, the RCCs, reputable contractors? Have you seen any project of the NDDC? But those are the people who are able to, that you know that they will be able to do the work that they are doing. As I said, there are audits on the ground. NDDC, by its law, has the so many bureaucracies. They have the management committee, they have the board, they have governors advisory committee, they have the what they call the advisory committee, they have the Senate committee on NDDC, they have the House committee on NDDC. All this, what have they done? On the ground, there are reports that clearly shows that the funds have not been targeted to the project on the ground. And more importantly, that what NDDC is doing, they are scratching the people where it's not itching them. So no one, if you want to do 1 kilometer road, they will say 1 kilometer road anywhere. There are some people that their priority is water. There are some people that what they want is something else. So you go and build barracks for mobile police, for army, for all that. What has that got to what we are doing? I think that let us call a spade, not an agricultural equipment. Clearly, NDDC has not been there. But one thing, let me caution, let it not be that we are looking for a scapegoat for development of the Niger Delta. So NDDC should be that scapegoat. Oh, they are not performing, that's what we are there. The presidency under section 7.3 of the Act, it says that what is going to be, it will function, exercising its function is subject to the direction, control, and supervision of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. In other words, what they are doing is presumed to be under the direction, control, and supervision of the Commander-in-Chief.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Can we go back to Benin? And going back to Benin, I want to get back to Dr. Ekio before we concentrate discussions in Abuja. And if I can see Benin, Dr. Ekio, can we see Benin, please? Okay, Dr. Ekio, we are just coming from Port Harcourt back to you. You talked about the fact that you agree with the fact that NDDC has been a conduit pipe, utilizing people within the system to divert monies. But Mite is looking at it from a different perspective. So far, so good. Are you saying from your location, NDDC is different from what is happening from Port Harcourt? But I'm looking in the eye of Akwa Ibom, Cross River, Delta, and what have you. You are in Benin. What is your own opinion? Do you disagree or agree with him?
Can I hear you again, please?
You heard Mite from Port Harcourt. More or less is in disagreement with what you said. You talked about the fact that the NDDC has been a conduit pipe, but he feels that the NDDC has been utilized to settle people, political patronage over time, and even the presidency that's supposed to monitor NDDC did not do its job well. So are you agreeing or disagreeing with him?
Thank you. I said we're going to take this one thing at a time, shaft for shaft, grain for grain. If over the years, presidents or the presidency, as it were, had done a thing in a pattern, and we have a point where the presidency said, okay, we need to audit ourselves. We need to do a forensic audit and be sure whether the way we are going about this is correct or not. Then I give it a thumbs up, because self-examination is very important in achieving set goals. So I will not undercut the fact that that forensic audit should be done. It is important, so we will know whether truly the perception of money being used by contractors or by pseudo-contractors or by politicians can be tracked to certain reasons. Now, I agree also in one part that the way the NDDC is killed, it is so incapacitated that it is used more for political satisfaction or settlement than for the development agenda for which it was set up. The monies that have come over the years, even if it was one kilometer road we were doing to nowhere, eventually all those 1 kilometers will add up to create infrastructure that will allow for certain numbers of kilometers. So the problem had been that there is no check as to how those even little trickles that are getting to the people are managed. So like the reporter did mention, if you go around the Niger Delta, you will definitely see signboards here and there or signposts here and there identifying projects that should at least make some minimal sense but abandoned. What is the real cause of it? Diversions of funds or funds being muzzled up by the interested parties both in the presidency, in the National Assembly for certain interests to pursue political gains and then abandoning the projects. So you can have people have jobs listed in the briefcase and awarded to people that they want to satisfy politically. You can have people being appointed to the NDDC to either placate or mitigate a situation arising from political fallouts. So over the years, you don't have a stable board, you don't have freedom to participate or activate certain infrastructural programs that you have. And then there's a continuous disconnect. You're building a road to Nembe, 15, 16 years. Once the first award was done, nobody follows up with the contractor whether he's doing his job. Nobody reviews it. Nobody makes sure it's done. Another award is done on an existing award. And there are plethora of jobs given out like that. So those are the bane that has made NDDC to be so not useful to the people. It is just a settlement calendar, and I agree with Ledum on that. But that's not to say that we should not audit it and find out why we can't get it right using the NDDC as one of the vehicles to fast-track development.
Thank you very much. I deliberately decided to start from Port Harcourt and Benin because that is where it is happening, talking about the NDDC now, back in Abuja. Reverend Ogolo, you have heard Mite from Port Harcourt, you've heard Ekio from Benin, and it's clear. One, incapacitation, monies that have been released so far does not reflect, abandoned projects, not used for, name it. If I ask you, so far, what's your impression?
Well, my impression is not different from what Lady Meeting said from Port Harcourt and my friend Eki from Benin.
So you are agreeing with their two opposing positions?
They are not opposing. It's you that is actually contrasting it. They are saying the same thing, and that's the perception, and that's the reality.
If,
and I think that's what...
If Ekio said, hold it, if Ekio said it was a conduit pipe, right? Mm-hmm. And Mitier says it has been a platform to patronize politicians.
Yes.
Are they together?
No,
you're trying contrasting.
The bottom line is that there is...
Am I contrasting?
Excuse me. I said the bottom line is that there is corruption. The money, what is meant for...
Did I contrast them? Did I contrast them?
Let us not...
no, you have to clear yourself.
No. Let me assist.
You say I'm contrasting them?
Yes, because the way you are saying it...
Did they disagree?
They don't disagree.
Go ahead.
Yes, they both agreed, and Lady Meeting is placing the challenge because the legal framework of NDDC that makes the presidency to be in total control, and then and that for me is something that is a really big challenge. But however, in moving forward, I think this is not the time for lamentation. It is time for solution. And that's where I completely agree with Akio that, look, the call for forensic audit is a welcome development. At least it has put the issue in the public domain. At least now there is a consensus in the country that there is a problem. And then the president himself has come to acknowledge that there is a problem. Now, I haven't said so that there is a problem, because now the body language of the president will also send a strong signal to either continue to believe what Lady Meeting is saying or not. Because first, when the president told the whole world that he's calling for forensic audit, one would have expected that there's a roadmap. But what happened after the president made a call? Now, automatically, the Ministry of Nigeria took up the challenge. And you and I know, we shouldn't deceive ourselves, that the Ministry of Niger Delta is complicit. And when you ask a man who is complicit in the process to now begin to audit us, there is a big challenge. And if you also look what Lady Meeting said, it is the presidency. You can't become NDDC managing director without you having a network in the presidency. You can't become a director for finance in NDDC without having a network in the presidency. So in moving forward...
When you say the presidency, is it the current presidency or the past presidency?
Well, there's no exception.
I'm just asking.
Right from the 2001 to date, there is no way you become MD of NDDC without influence from the presidency. Let's not shy away from it. And if you look, it's the same character of people that have been running the show from 2001 to date. Either they're now in politics today or they're out, then 2 years' time they are in. So our challenge now is, let us not lament. What are the problems? The problem is that it is a patron-client system. NDDC is part of the state capture, used by political elite in this country to sustain this looting machine. And Nigeria continues to occupy a very disgraceful position in the corruption perception index internationally. NDDC provides that process. So we are very happy. We commend the president. So this is not a time for lamentation. For us in the civil society working on transparency and accountability issue, we see it as a huge opportunity. And that's why we said that as the federal government have now launched their forensic audit, we're also launching the people's forensic audit. Because the people are very knowledgeable, but the political elite...
If the government did not launch a forensic audit, will you have launched one?
Oh, you don't understand me.
I'm just asking you a question. It's not about understanding me.
That's why I say yes.
Now you said the federal government... Hold it.
Yes.
The federal government launched a forensic, and now the people launch. If they did not launch, will you launch?
Well, we've been doing the work over the last 20 years.
I'm just trying to place a point clear here. Okay.
So, and what do we want to do? Because people, the trust on government is low. People don't trust the system.
Okay.
And because of this trust problem, government is gradually losing legitimacy. If you carry out a public
survey... In a democracy?
Yes. Listen, if you carry out a public survey in the Niger Delta today, you will find out that the figure you will get about whether, when the president called for forensic audit, do you think that there will be result? The result you will get will
when
be
you say government is losing legitimacy, do you mean government is losing the legitimacy in the Niger Delta region of Nigeria or the entire country?
Well, we
have a democracy. Hold it.
Yes.
You are in Nigeria.
Yes.
And Nigeria today
we are discussing Niger Delta.
Let me finish.
Yes.
Nigeria is a democracy.
Yes.
And all the democratic structures are in place.
Yes.
And you say the people are government losing legitimacy. How do you clear yourself?
Yes.
What we have in place at the federal and state level are elected persons, governors, senators, House of Assembly members, name it. I don't want to go to local government councils. When you say government is losing legitimacy, can you substantiate it?
Well, maybe you don't understand.
No, you are making a sweeping statement.
I said if you carry out a public survey today in the Niger Delta and even across the country, whether people have confidence in the system of justice, system of audit process. For example, the Auditor General of this country releases audit report every year. What happened? If you recall, when people do no longer have confidence in when anti-corruption agency are not able to bring to justice, we're talking about 12,000 failed contracts in Niger Delta.
NDDC, right?
NDDC. Just
Not,
NDDC
okay,
alone.
fine.
We have 12,000 failed contracts. Okay. And we know the contractors. We know the companies. We know the owners of the companies. Nothing is happening. And you recall, Led Meeting said NEITI, the Nigerian Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, run by the federal government as a multi-stakeholder process, came out with an audit report that shows the flows of resources. That audit report is out there. What has government done with those reports? The Auditor General report have also shown some element of what is going on, what has happened. So when people no longer see that government do not respond to some of this report, it encourages the culture of impunity. And once there is a culture of impunity, it breaks down trust. And that's what I'm saying now, that the president's decision to call for forensic audit will help if the president follow technically. But for the president now to call for forensic audit and now allow Ministry of Niger Delta to take charge of it without a roadmap that demonstrates independence, because you and I know that Ministry of Niger Delta was oversighting this NDDC.
Okay, so I don't overbear the case. Yes. Let me hold you there. I'll still come back to you. Yes. You have raised a lot of issues. We'll still come back to it. Let me go to Niyi. Yes. I have deliberately taken off from the source up here, and we're getting grabbed to the SSC, to the president of Niger Delta first. Now, you've heard from Ogolo. Niger Delta Ministry is complicit from one of the guests, and so far, he says patron client system. Now, if the president did not raise alarm, where was the civil society? If the president did not raise alarm, will we start talking about the issue of using Niger Delta NDDC as a conduit pipe, given so much has been released?
I think generally what this speaks to is the complacency of what I fondly call the power of the office of the citizen. See, a structure, when it is established, either in a federal system or a unitary system or whatever political structure we're talking about, the purpose of such structure is to serve the people. Yes, Ledum in Port Harcourt talked about the NDDC becoming more or less a pocket note, you know, for the presidency, you know, where people interest that needs to be seated, you know, are written off. But for me, the conceptualization of the NDDC is principally an intervention agency. And because of the fact that it is also an agency to serve the collective, it is not just about serving a state, it's about serving a collective of about 9 states. And to that extent, it would have to be responsible to a federal authority. And the federal authority, naturally, will be the president. Now, we are presidents and, of course, managers of NDDC since 2001 had decided to profane the purpose of the NDDC. Does not by itself vitiate the original intention of the NDDC. So if we are talking, we should talk to irresponsibility, you know, and do not then deride the idea of the NDDC. The idea of the NDDC is fantastic, you know, but the perception of the operators and perhaps the aggregation of the inclination of the people in that area, you know, or the power players in that area, that now the time is okay, this is an opportunity for us to exploit, you know, the part of the cake that is given to us. That is the limitation or the challenges, as it were. But for me, going forward, we now have a president that had now made an historical, you know, position by calling for a forensic audit. And as an investment analyst, my understanding of a forensic audit simply interprets to the fact that we are going beyond these figures. And when you call for a forensic audit, what it tells you is that you will now also identify the sentiments, the motivations behind those figures that you are seeing for the purpose of restructuring the whole operational model of the agency, as it were. So the presidency the president calling specifically for a forensic audit must have been conscious of a given objective he wants to achieve, you know, and that objective would simply translate to mean, look, let us go beyond balancing the account. Let us also identify the interest behind all these manipulations of the figures and why these figures are being manipulated, and of course, what is the exit point? How do we also restructure the agency to better serve the people? You know, for me, I also think, just deriving from your question, I believe that an agency like the NDDC should be community-led, you know, and that perhaps should also be part of the consideration of the auditors, you know, as it were.
Okay. Now, I remember vividly a couple of years back, I can't recall the particular state now, at a people's forum. It was a public gallery, and the governor said, this particular location, if your road has not been fixed, the contract was given to so fellow. Mr. President came up with this when leadership of the Niger Delta region paid him a courtesy visit. And the pictures they painted was as though the Niger Delta region has not been attended to in all these years, not just within the ambit of the present administration. And based on the list before him, he now said, with what has been released so far, so much, we should see A, B, C, D, E in the Niger Delta region, and as such, calling for audit. Now, given the objective of what he wants to achieve, and now to you, now the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Niger Delta Affairs, you have been to a couple of locations, we have seen you on the news. What will you say from the perspective of Ekio, Mite, Ogolo, and Niye?
Let me thank you for allowing me hear the opinion of all the participants on this platform before allowing me speak, because it has confirmed the opinion, the reason. They have all in their presentations confirmed the reason and the justification of the president calling for forensic audits. Mr. President is saying, look, whether it is internal or external, I have not seen, and the people have not seen, things on the ground commensurate with how much that has been released. And the essence of the forensic audit is not to audit a particular administration or a particular government or a particular leadership, but it's auditing the forensic audit of the commission, whoever was there. So it is for the purpose of determining what went wrong. And to determine what went wrong will also be, having determined what went wrong, what should we do with it? Some persons are worried that there is no time limit perhaps for the forensic audit. But I think that the people should not be worried, because there will be a time limit, because the president is very anxious that the report will be gotten and it will be reviewed, and recommendations will be made, and the recommendations should be implemented within the period that he could give a long time leadership and the new direction of the Niger Delta Development Commission. Again, that it came at a time that the leadership of the Niger Delta region paid him a courtesy visit was apt, because yes, it is not only NDDC that is in the region. There is there are other interventionist agencies, and there is also the monies that are given to the governors, the 13% derivation. There are also the extra funds that come from other sources. If NDDC would not do, these other persons would have done. They would have been different. So it was a very good forum to raise the question. But that said, I want the people of the Niger Delta to take this opportunity to say, look, the office of the citizen, as Akin Soji has raised, the office of the citizen, that you don't get complacent. The president can be everywhere. The governors can be everywhere. The senators can be everywhere. You know, when you give somebody a trust, there must be a level of action by you, a level of responsiveness. Complain if nothing is done right. Complain if a project is not completed. Complain if you know that somebody has gotten money and has not done a project. Don't keep quiet and wait and complain at a wrong time. Again, I want the people of the Niger Delta not to over-dramatize this question of corruption in the NDDC. Yes. And not to say, oh, it is only NDDC that is there. And so every eye is on the NDDC. The country is very big. And there are other agencies that are doing projects and programs which, by your political will, political ability, and even your status, you could go attracting projects from the federal government other than the Niger Delta Development Commission. So the Akwa Ibom people, the people of the Akwa Ibom, Cross River, Delta, Edo, Ondo, Bayelsa, Rivers, don't just put all your eyes there and say, okay, I'm waiting for audit of NDDC before I look for another project. There is the Federal Ministry of Works, Education, Power, Water Resources. Come out, because that money, part of the money that is used in funding the budget of those agencies still comes from oil. Come and participate at that level. Again, there is something that I like, I would want to remind Nigerians, and particularly the citizens of the Niger Delta, that the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs was started with one project, that is the East-West Road. And there were 3 projects on roads that were under the presidential intervention project. There were 3 of them were under Ministry of Works. But the other 2, I think the Kano, Meduguri, and then Abuja, Lokoja, and so on, down to the south, was also started with this. So the East-West Road was excised and given to the Ministry of Niger Delta. Now, the Ministry of Niger, when you say budget is given to Ministry of Niger Delta, it is for that road. Other roads have gone very far. Only that one has not gone far. So let us not be, yes, Mr. President ordered audit. Let us not concentrate in that. Let us not concentrate in other things. And there are other funding agencies. There are other funds for development. There is the Petroleum Technology Development Fund. There is the Petroleum Equalization Fund. There are other parastatals and agencies under the ministry about petroleum products. Let us not concentrate in this alone and then appear as if we have skewed our head and just going to concentrate there. The president has done what is presidential, and we want to commend him very well. Finally, let me say that what this audit intends to do is, let us find out, are there things that the NDDC, monies that it should have gotten, which it did not get? For what you awarded, the oil companies are supposed to contribute 3% of their budget. Is there anything that the oil companies have done which shows that there is some hiding of the things of their budget, that they are not contributing enough? Or is what they are contributing not applied to the project? There were also to be some contribution on the ecological. Are those contributions made? Although there was a constitutional question, about it. There are other things, other sources of funds. So other than how did you spend your money, the president also wants to know, were there funds that the commission was entitled, which it did not receive, which Mr. President, through the audit and the report, will now work to make sure the funds received, because the intention of the president is to make sure that the Niger Delta people and Nigerians derive value for the reason for which the NDDC was established, and not the complaint.
Okay. Now, the program once again is Tuesday Live tonight, and the focus is the Niger Delta Development Commission. How accountable? It's an audience participatory program. At some point, the lines will be open, and you put your phone calls through, ask your questions, raise your concerns. I will address them. When you do this, turn down the volume of your television set. Our Twitter handle is Tuesdaylive NTA. A couple of tweets have come, and I want to say I'll read two of the tweets, and starting from Benin, Port Harcourt, and to Abuja. The tweets goes this way. There are three. I'll take two for now. The first one comes from the Republican. Now, it says, NDDC management over the years have compromised the primary objective of that intervention agency. It's an agency lacking in transparency, a cash cow for the managers in proxy for their godfathers. It was recklessly mismanaged, severely looted. The audit is all the board members of the NDDC in the past came out as multi-millionaires and nobody questioned them. The forensic audit is the best thing to happen to that agency. Thorough checks on quality of jobs done in the region by the NDDC would be included in the supervising authority of the NDDC should be questioned too. The federal government equally, I'm reading what is here, equally should audit the Niger Delta Amnesty Program. It is not the Niger Delta Amnesty Program, it's the Presidential Amnesty Program. What does it say here? The activities of these agencies draw a map of fraud and gross irresponsibility of people against themselves. Kudos to President Buhari. The next one came from MC Chimeziri. He says, it is surprising that the Niger Deltans, who are known for agitations, have not been protesting against the irregularities in the NDDC. Could it be because it has always been headed by Niger Deltans? Niger Deltans should learn to hold their people accountable. I believe Mite and Ekio are listening to me. Let's start from Ekio. What's your reaction to these two tweets?
Well, see that these are persons who are looking at the issues from the surface and do not understand who the Niger Delta people are. There have never been a time that people from the Niger Delta have not risen up against managements of the NDDC or even any agency in the Niger Delta, including the oil companies, when it comes to performance. The point is that somebody was talking about the Office of the Citizens. Most of us have been in the seat of the Office of Citizens for as long as we had common sense. Agitating in the street, we've got shot, we've been locked up, we've been brutalized, we've been called names. But the point is, when it is time to put people to manage those same offices that we have demanded for, to be able to transform the things that we have asked for, the power is no longer in the hands of the people. We sit in our Niger Delta and somebody comes from Abuja who has influence from the Niger Delta, sometimes never lived in the Niger Delta, and then sits on those offices and tells you that he's operating from Abuja because he takes instruction from Abuja. And then he takes the military that is also from Abuja and secures himself against his own people. Because he doesn't live among the people, there's really nothing you can do. Young people struggle to get access to NDDC. If you go to NDDC in Port Harcourt, 24 hours, all year round, you find young people demanding for accountability. Nobody listens to them. Some persons, young people have taken MDs to court. The court does not even listen to them. So it is only when the power that be, like Mr. President have now issued an instruction, that even the EFCC will put an eye and begin to work. Everybody will begin to work because it is coming from the authority. People from down will never be able to change the status quo. They will agitate, and when government respond, the point is, how do you now implement those responses? I and Ledo, for instance, when they started the Nigerian Delta Technical Committee, I was in that meeting who said that we need to collate, rather than set up another investigative body, collate whatever we have done from the 1960s till date to give us way forward for the Niger Delta. The Niger Delta Technical Committee was set up. I was excluded. In this NDDC you are seeing there, is Ledum MD or I MD. They know that if I am made MD, I don't see anybody in Abuja that will come and tell me to take money to Abuja and I will not shout. They know, so they will not make me MD. They will look for people who they think are court-sized and they can manipulate or give directive. Sometimes, and let me tell you very clearly, the president himself will not be in the know. People in Abuja who name drop, who would have facilitated the process for which the MDs and the directors have emerged, would come in and take possession. And then the National Assembly committees will also now go in and blackmail and take their own possession, leaving the people of the Nigeria with the crumbs of this 1 kilometer road that you hear as parting gifts. And the people have no choice. If I'm looking for 10 kilometer road to my village, I can get one. Please give me one first. The billion naira jobs that you see there, 30 billion, 10 billion, 8 billion, it's for these 10 people in Abuja. They get the red barrels and they take it and they go away. And if you, by the time this, why I'm demanding for this forensic audit, it will shock Nigerians to know that even 40% of those jobs are not people from the Niger Delta. People highly placed from the north have taken this job and they're doing what they want with it. The remaining are taken by highly placed politicians who are favored also in the system. So I'm demanding for this audit, not because I think that I want the truth to come to light. So these two tweets are not, they are just people who are just browbeating. They don't understand the nitty-gritty of what happens in the Niger Delta. He's talking about the presidential amnesty office. It's the same thing. You create an agency, the program is being run, and then suddenly people are appointed, people are being muzzled in Abuja, and they have been appointed from Abuja, they are being muzzled from Abuja, and they have to do the master's bidding, or they will lose the job, unless and otherwise, like Senator Etta said, the books are followed stricto sensu, so that the management is allowed to manage the affairs and the people are allowed to ask for accountability. Even after this forensic audit, we'll go back to the same cycle. I want to leave it at this point.
Okay, let's go to Port Harcourt. If Mita is hearing me, let me ask you, Mita, given what Ekio has said, what will you say is the way forward? So I don't belabor the matter.
Just before, let me just make one quick point in response to one of the issues raised by me. After conceptualization of the Niger Delta. And I think that is bottom line of the issue. Now, the Niger Delta, as you said from the beginning, is the region had a peculiar terrain. And because of the peculiar terrain, the people right from the 60s, 50s, agitated that those at the center do not understand the peculiar terrains which are very hostile to development. And they needed affirmative action to deal with that issue. That is what led to the Niger Delta Development Board, which you mentioned. Now, unfortunately, we now have oil in that area again. The issue of the terrain and the harsh environment for development in the Niger Delta is separate and distinct from the issue of oil. What has happened in NDDC is that they merged these two things because oil is Niger Delta and now treated it with just one stroke. So it's like someone who has malaria and typhoid. So you give him only malaria medicine because the two are in one person. That is the conception of the problem. And when we talk about what I mentioned about what has happened in this Niger Delta development, the NDDC Act. Before then, that Act now repealed the 1998 Upper administration. What is the significance or the significant difference between both? The NDDC Act clearly stated and gave the power to that board of the Upper Deck Act the decree of 1998 to give them the power to develop the Niger Delta, the oil producing communities according to the priorities set by those communities. And said each of those communities will have a community development committee which will now initiate what is there, and it goes on. It was a bottom-up approach introduced by that decree. That was the situation in that. Unfortunately, that has not even been implemented when the civilian government came and now changed the whole issue. And that created an NDDC and makes it, I repeat again, that it said clearly in section 7.3 that in carrying out this function, it must do it according to the directives, control, and supervision of the president. So you make an agency no longer charged with the responsibility of developing the area according to their priorities, but it is set up from top. So you now have a change. The conception of the Niger Delta development, instead of being bottom-up, has now been made a top-down. And that's why you see, as my friend Chris has said, this is why you see that most of what you see that they are doing corruption here is actually something that lives here and centers at the center. And that's what is going. And we must understand that bit. Now, I have had this question that has been also raised, Office of the Citizen. What does it mean? Who has the responsibility, who has the power to check if there is an infraction of the law? All the instruments, whether it's EFCs, whether it's police, whether it's anything that can now be the coercive power to hold people to account, are in the hands of the president. Why is it that one person in the NDDC, all this while, have not been asked to come and account in that direction? What will a citizen do? Is it to carry placards? And those who have the power are not doing the things that they are supposed to do. Let me say that the little physics I did in secondary school, we call it Newton's law of motion. Everything stays in the continuous state of motion or rest until an external force acts on it. So the thing will continue. What is it that has been done to say, let us stop those things from happening? I think that is the bottom line of what is happening. When I say that I'm not excited about forensic audit, I am saying it with all sense of responsibility. And I'm saying it because I've spent most of my adult life in all these agitations about this region. And people should credit that at least I have not been frivolous in use of language. Now, if NEPA or electricity is not working, what should we do? Do we need to first set up a forensic audit to see why light should not be there? Or that the roads are not working? Forensic audit. I've had it before that those who want to do things, do it. If you don't want to do it, you set up committees. Because when people come, it becomes an excuse. Oh, we are setting up committee. Because what I'm saying is that you don't need to reinvent the wheels. 90 has, even the current board of 90 has also published another report, the fiscal allocation and certain disbursement out, which also audits this issue about NDDC. So why do you start another one? There is one that we did, I think, some years ago, and I brought out some of these issues. So you start another audit. What has happened with this one? The one that has been sent. It was sent to the presidency. It is always sent to the National Assembly. It is sent to every person that has powers to do things. What has happened to those ones? So if there are things we have to do, number one, I know 2 years ago, I was part of the delegation of PANDEF that met the president. I'm part of the demands, restructure the NDDC to make it functional. Now, if you want to do things, you will do it. If you want to set up committee, you can continue setting up committees, and we'll have committees till the next year. And as I say it again, if we should not hold NDDC accountable for, as a scapegoat for non-development of the Niger Delta, as my friend Senator Enang has said, if you look at this thing now, the whole East-West Road, what has happened? How much was disbursed for the East-West Road in this area? People are dying. Those who are passing from Port Harcourt through the Ogoni area know that it takes you a journey of 30 minutes. Now takes about 2 hours because of the situation of the East-West Road. Now, why is it that the East-West Road is not moving and other roads in the country are moving? So are we going to set up also a forensic audit on why that one is not working? Okay. If it is what needs to be done, these are administrative things that we can do and solve the problem that is besetting the NDDC or whatever. But we must be able to say people are dying. Each day we are wasting time for all these things. People are dying. Let us do things, and it can be done. Because if you even say, look, for this year we are only going to get water for this area, call the Julius Bergers or the RCC or some of those reputable, they will do it.
Okay. But at this point, let me hold a meter there, and so far we have been able to get somewhere, and now by the time we come back after the break, but I'll take 2 or 3 tweets, then we go on break. We'll be looking at, with all the concerns raised, what is the way forward, even as the forensic audit remains sacrosanct as pronounced by Mr. President. Quickly before we go on break, the tweet from Tony 1703844 says, NDDC has been existing from President Olusegun Obasanjo administration with so much belief in this agency to benefit the Niger Delta region and its people, but its transparency can be questioned and clearly unaccountable. That's that. And this one from Chimezire says, the president must not the outcome of the forensic audit of the NDDC as government had treated similar reports in the past, sweeping them under the carpet. The audit of the NDDC should be a true test of the president's sincerity on fighting corruption. Pius Ubwa-Puteni says, while there is no question about the fact that NDDC has not met the huge expectations of the people and its funders, it must be emphasized that the neglect of the Niger Delta Regional Development Master Plan and the lack of legal backing, it remains a major concern. Lack of legal backing for the Niger Delta Regional Development Master Plan remains a major concern. Now, Lawal Fa 123 says the enormous wealth in the Niger Delta region is not synonymous with the quantum of development on ground. This ugly scenario did not start today. The ministry is replete with corruption, and this forensic audit will be rubbished and publicized. Last but not the least, from this, Lawal says NDDC is known to deliver shoddy projects so the elites among them can have enough to enrich themselves. The program once again is Tuesday Live tonight, and our focus is NDDC, how accountable. Our Twitter handle is at Tuesday Live NTA, and at the appropriate time the lines will be opened and you make your point and ask your questions. For now, we take a break, and when we return, the program continues. Stay with us.
When you think about hospitality and affordable luxury away from home, then you talk about Sharon Ultimate Hotels, a secured and serene environment that offers kingly services such as 24-hour room service, impeccable security with CCTV surveillance, parking lots, free Wi-Fi internet service, free complimentary breakfast, restaurants that offers continental and local dishes, well-equipped fitness center with instructors, swimming pool, 350 capacity multipurpose hall, laundry service, pastry corner, mini mart, and our suites are breathtaking. For reservation, locate us at plot 1710, Tafawa Balewa Way, Area 3, Garikia, Abuja. Sharon Ultimate Hotels, the ultimate place.
Nigerians, our fearless officers and men of the Nigerian military are winning the war against Boko Haram. Today, all occupied territories have been recovered, and Boko Haram has been degraded. Our affected brothers and sisters are getting their lives back. However, they are now after you and me. In our mosques, churches, schools, motor parks, markets, entertainment centers, and public gatherings. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me. Nigeria, unite against terrorism.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
The struggle for independence had been a long and tough one. Our founding fathers and compatriots sacrificed their comfort and even shed their blood. We cannot at this point in history afford to spirit away their sacrifices for immediate but temporary gains of today. Let us emphasize what unites and not what divides us. Working for the unity of purpose with a stronger vision for a better tomorrow. NTA, growing with the nation.
Nigeria, the only country we can train with remarkable potentials to excel. Let us believe in ourselves and change our attitude for the sake of our country and generations unborn. Let us revive our cultural values, which are our essence as a nation. Let us renew the spirit of patriotism and